I'm Mon Valley Independent Sports Editor Jeremy Salou.
And I'm Mon Valley Independent Assistant Sports Editor Jose Negron.
And welcome to MVI Live.
Hit the intro.
Welcome back. Again, I'm Mon Valley Independent Sports Editor Jeremy Salou, and welcome to our WPIAL basketball playoff bracket breakdown. Jose, it's been a long season. Our teams made it through, and a lot of them are in the playoffs with this open tournament.
Yeah, all but three, one apiece on each side, and then, of course, an extra one in 4A that we just recently learned about. But very excited to see what this open tournament is going to be like. I know this is the first open tournament since 1984, the second ever, so should be pretty interesting to see, what Cinderella stories might come out of this tournament and what higher seeds prove their dominance in each classification.
Cinderella stories? None. We will say there are 121 boys teams in this tournament and 109 girls teams, and of course that's from 6A to 1A. So it's a crowded field.
Yes, it is, and a lot of we had our fair share of high seeds amongst Mon Valley teams.
We did,
and we had our fair share of lower seeds as well. But it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be very exciting to see what comes out of this open tournament and to see what teams take advantage of this opportunity.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how we pull this off, because there's a lot to talk about, short amount of time. So we'll break down more in our Valley Sports Guys podcast on Sunday. Might even give you our predictions for the semifinals and championship games. But what we're looking at are games, preliminary round games, pigtail games will be Saturday and Monday, with the first round games March 1st through 4th, the quarterfinals March 5th, 6th, and 8th, semifinals 9th, 10th, and 11th, and the championships are Friday the 12th, Saturday the 13th, and the Monday the 15th. I'm looking at Peters Township to host those sites in the new Taj Mahal they have there, but nothing has been decided. Again, we're looking at the brackets. We do have them released by the WPIAL. So let's get into it. What we're going to do is we're going to run down the full girls field. We have local teams in Class A through 5A. We'll just briefly tell you who's in the 6A field and the matchups, and that's it. Because I know there are some girls we might be concerned with the Mon Valley Independent Summer Basketball League, and we'll highlight some of the teams that feature some of those players real quick. Without further ado, let's get right to it. If you want to start off with Class A.
Yeah, let's take a look at Class A. Obviously, the highest seed amongst local teams are the number 5 Clairton Bears. They will start out their postseason journey on Thursday at 6 p.m. with a home game against number 12 Mapletown. And then on the other side of the bracket, the Monessen Greyhounds seeded 6th. They will have a home game Thursday at 6 p.m. against number 11 Union.
And you have to look at, first of all, I've seen Mapletown. I haven't seen Clairton this year. Mapletown, I don't think Clairton's going to have a problem with them advancing to the next round. And you have to be happy for Monessen. They lost Kendall Weston this year. Went through a little rough stretch where they lost, I think, 3-4 straight games, but they will get to host a game being the higher seed. And, Class A is the smallest classification, not just in school size, but the amount of teams that are in the bracket. So it's the usual, 3 to 4 buys. I think we got 3 teams here with buys. And the number 1 overall seeds Rochester, number 2 West Green, and number 3 Eden Christian Academy will have the buys. Winner of Monessen and Union will get Eden Christian Academy on Monday the 8th. and the winner of the Clairton Mapletown game will play the winner of Aquinas Academy and Jefferson Morgan.
Yeah, and Clairton goes into the playoffs at 10-2 overall, 7-2 in Section 3A. Monessen 9-8 overall, 7-3 in Section 2A. And these Monessen Greyhounds come in having played a lot of non-section games as well during a year where teams haven't really gotten a lot of those opportunities. So the Greyhounds, while having a pretty young group, are pretty battle-tested coming in.
They are. Watching them play, when I think it was the Mapletown game we saw them last, I just want to see them want to be out there. I mean, this is the playoff. It's playoff time now. I know they had a sweatshirt sale, a T-shirt sale. Let's get the motivation out there and let's go out and put on a show, because they can. The way they play, up tempo, lots of pressure, cut down the fouls, and they might be able to surprise a couple teams.
And I know it's been tough at Monessen. They haven't had fans this year, so that kind of takes a little bit away from it. And obviously, when you're hosting a home game, kind of takes away from the fact that you're hosting a home game, not being able to have the fans out there. But the Greyhounds are going to have a test in that first round against Union.
That's one thing we didn't mention is that's different from this year. These aren't neutral site games. All the way up into the semifinals, the higher seeded team will host a game. So, and one of the stipulation was you have to allow fans. Right. So there will be Monessen fans in the stands. Obviously, there will probably be some Union fans as well, but it's the first game where the Greyhounds will have an opportunity to play in front of fans and have a home court advantage.
Right.
I'll start off with Class 2A real quick. This was my first problem I had with the brackets.
Yeah.
I think our highest seeded team is the Sarah Catholic Eagles, Bill Cleary's team. Undefeated on the season, 12-0, 8-0 in Section 2A. All of our representatives are from that section here in the 2A bracket. Sarah Catholic got the 2 seed, and they will host the winner of number 15 Stowe Rocks and number 18 Southside area. They will host that game on Tuesday at 6 o'clock at Sarah Catholic. The other team we have there is the California Trojans are the 8th seed. They will host number 9 Fort Cherry on Tuesday as well at 6 o'clock. And then go Doors. The Fraser Commodores are in a pigtail game on Saturday. They will travel to number 14 Chartiers Houston. The Commodores are the number 19 seed. Probably by the time this broadcast airs, they will be 4-13. 2-7 in Section 2, and California will up their record to 9-3. I think it was a 6 o'clock start, so we might actually have that result before we're done here. The number 1 overall seed in the Class 2A bracket that beat Sarah Catholic out is Neshannock. They will obviously play Aliquippa and Springdale Winter on Tuesday as well. So looking at the 2A bracket, I know the top 3 teams are up there with Neshannock, Sarah, and Winchester Thurston, all highly ranked all year. I think, not being a homer, but I think Sarah Catholic deserved the 1 seed. And I'm kind of surprised to see Olsh as the number 6 seed in that bracket.
Yeah, I thought Olsh would definitely be higher, maybe a top 4 seed. Sarah, I thought that maybe the history would kind of factor into that. The tradition of the program would factor into maybe the decision to give them a 1 seed. But then again, I mean, Neshannock is a really talented team as well, so there isn't really it's kind of 1A 1B when it comes to those top 2 seeds. But Sarah Catholic unbeaten on the season, Section 2A champions, back-to-back section titles, the history under Bill Cleary. I thought that was definitely going to be under consideration. But then again, they have a nice path as a number 2 seed. They're on the other side of the bracket from Sewickley Academy and Neshannock and Burgettstown. So but it's still going to be a tough test. Winchester Thurston could be a possible semifinal matchup, and Olsh is there as well.
Right, and I'm really interested to see. I mean, I'm surprised that Sarah Catholic went unbeaten this year. They have a very young team. They have a couple upperclassmen leaders. I know we talk about Nicole Pulaski all the time, and obviously Chloe Portash and Grace Navarro are there. But they have a lot of younger girls filling those other 2 spots, and I think Kate Clark was in double digits yesterday for them. So they're pretty deep with how young they are, and that's obviously going to be an advantage for them going forward.
And I wouldn't bet against Bill Cleary and his ability to get those girls prepared for the playoffs.
And maybe they take this as a slight and use that as motivation going ahead.
Yeah, and also, talking a little bit about California, they haven't played a whole ton. They played 11 games this season, 8-3, 6-1 in section play. Their only section loss came at the hands of Sarah Catholic. I believe they only played Sarah once this season because of the shutdowns and things of that nature. But 8 is around where I thought they would be, and obviously Fraser got to be happy to be dancing here and obviously use this as a learning experience with a playoff game.
Right, and Fraser, another young team, they got the Shaporkas there that are seniors, but they have a very young team with a lot of newcomers there.
Delaney
Warnick is starting to come into her own. It's a good young group, and hey, the regular season can go up until the state championship, so if they get eliminated here on Saturday, I wouldn't be surprised to see them play a few more games, have a couple more practices. The more you're on the court, that's the best experience. And that's one thing that affected a lot of our teams is, if during the shutdown you couldn't practice and you only get 3 practices before you get back to game action. So,
right.
Those are some things that, you take from this open tournament and the WPIAL and PIAA allowing you to continue your season.
Right. Taking a look at the Class 3A bracket, we have 2 local teams, only one of them within the top 10 seeds. Of course, no surprise that North Catholic was seeded number 1 here in Class 3A, but Charleroi gets the number 10 seed. They will take on number 7 Keystone Oaks Wednesday, 6 p.m. at Keystone Oaks. And then South Allegheny, ranked 18th. They will face number 15 Washington Saturday at Washington at noon.
Looking at this, Charleroi, I think we heard earlier today, 78% of their offensive output comes from 3 freshmen. It's obviously a very young team, and a lot of people might not have thought they were going to go 7-8 and 5-5 in section play. So they've been a good story. I know they rattled off 4 straight wins here recently before I think they ran into Burgettstown. So, it's an exciting time for the Cougars. Obviously, this is going to be an experience for them. I'm sure there'll be some nerves, but only going forward, this is going to do nothing but help them. I don't know much about Keystone Oaks. And South Allegheny struggled a lot this year, but again, another young team. I think their 2 leading scorers are a sophomore and a freshman. Again, experience for them playing Wash High, who I think Charleroi went 1-1 against Wash High this year. They just lost, I think, last night.
Right.
Not big on numbers, so you never know.
Yeah, if Charleroi is able to pull off what I guess going off of the seeds would be an upset of Keystone Oaks. A tough test against number 2 Mohawk would await them in the next round. But again, like you said, 2 young teams that are going to use this open tournament as a learning experience and a way to say, hey, if you're getting this playoff experience now, it's only going to help you moving forward.
For sure. That'll wrap up 3A, and I'll take a look at Class 4A. 2 local teams should have had 3. Again, we just found out today that York opted out because of coronavirus contact tracing issues. Elizabeth Ford is the 8 seed. They are 5-5, 4-4, and they kind of got bit by the small gym factor. They have to go to number 9 Central Valley on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. And number 10, Bell Vernon, Caitlin Slagus in her first year, missing a couple big players, still finishes 500, 7-7, 4-4, and I actually have them Wednesday and Thursday, I think, on MVI Live. We're streaming them. Actually, maybe not Thursday now because York's probably done.
Yeah.
But 7-7, 4-4, they will go to number 7 Montour on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. First of all, for Elizabeth Ford, only 10 games like you mentioned earlier. But, again, a young team. I know there's been not issues with Coach Crystal Gibbs. She just wants to see more motivation out of her team and more taking the concepts they're learning in practice and applying it to the court. But, again, you play how you practice.
Yeah.
And, she said as a young team, the practices haven't always been great, but they're coming off a win over Bell Vernon on Saturday. So hopefully, they put something together here for Central Valley. I know Brooke Markland the last 2 games has been in double figures for them. So she seems to be picking it up. And for Bell Vernon, they go as Viva goes. Viva Chris came off a career-high 20 points and then went to Elizabeth Ford and only had 3. Again, she's only a sophomore, though.
Yeah.
And they're missing Jenna Dawson, who's out after knee surgery this year. Bell Vernon, nothing to lose. I mean, they're going to have most of their team back. Grace Henderson has been coming on. I know recently she set a career high with 17 rebounds in a game. And I know Coach Slagus, being her experience of playing in college at Bucknell, she wants to get the ball inside to Grace Henderson.
Yeah.
And I think she's really trying to push Bell Vernon to get that. Because if they do, Grace Henderson can outrun any big down the floor. She could probably out-jump them as well. So
yeah. And looking at these brackets, too, I think the big reason why Elizabeth Ford was seated ahead of the Leopards is because of that win on Saturday. Obviously, Bell Vernon got the upper hand on EF in the first meeting, but the Warriors were able to get that win, and obviously another signature win early in the season against West Mifflin as well. So the Warriors sitting at number 8, they are the higher seed. They're going to have to go on the road, but that's, I think, a winnable game against Central Valley. Unfortunately, you got number 1 Beaver looking at you if you get that one.
Who is unbeaten. So, but again, I think it was just a couple years ago EF played Beaver, right? Mm-hmm. Back, both teams were very good. I think Elizabeth Ford was the 4 that year, and Beaver was the 1.
Yeah, back when Bree Spurnack was the star of that Elizabeth Ford team. So, this might be one of those situations where maybe we do see one of those Cinderellas come into play here with those 8 and 9 seeds.
Right, those 8 and 9, just like the NCAA tournament, those games are so hard to predict. Even the 7-10 game where Bell Vernon falls. Right. Yeah, that should be interesting.
Looking at the Class 5A bracket, we have 3 local teams here in this one, starting out with the number 4 seed Thomas Jefferson Jaguars. They will await a preliminary round game between number 13 Albert Gallatin and number 20 Greensburg Salem, but the Jaguars will be back in action Thursday at 6 p.m. on their home floor. Number 7 McKeesport, they had a loss tonight to Woodland Hills, but they get seeded number 7. They will host a game Monday at 6 p.m. against number 26 Kiski. It's really weird to say that. Right. Very, very strange. And then number 25, the Ringgold Rams, will face number 8 Fox Chapel Monday, 8 p.m. at Fox Chapel.
Yeah, and we mentioned it. We were kind of surprised that TJ got the 4, but again, they're in that section. Their only 2 losses were to Trinity, who's a pseudo-local team for us because of all the Summer League girls. So congratulations, Trinity's the number 1 seed, 16-1 overall, 10-0 in section. That pushed Char Valley to 2. And to me, it seems like those 2 teams are on a collision course, but we'll see what happens. That'd be a fun game to watch regardless if it does happen for a championship matchup. Right. But Thomas Jefferson, if Coach Fairman gets what she's been getting out of those freshman players, they could make a run here to the semifinals. I know Woodland Hills awaits, and we have a couple Summer League players from Woodland Hills on that team. So, that would be a fun quarterfinal matchup to watch, if we get the chance to cover that.
It would be interesting to see Gracie Fairman versus Jasmine Fisher, the two
again.
And also, these are 2 teams that played in the state playoffs last year as well. Right before the shutdown, TJ was about to play Char Valley. They beat Woodland Hills, I believe, in the first round of the state playoffs at Peters Township. So it'll be interesting if those 2 teams can collide once again.
And McKeesport is a team that's really intriguing to me as the 7th seed. But they're so deep. They're still so young. Obviously, Haley Hertzler and Carmen Coles are seniors that have been leading the way. But it seems like they have a different high score every night. I know Maddie Sharepko was one night. Haley Hertzler's little sister was another night. I mean, it's Eric Smith can really spread out that team. I mean, they're so deep. And obviously, I mean, let's be honest, is Kiski going to give them a problem? Probably not, but then you got Oakland Catholic looming, in the next round, so that might be a little bit of a challenge. But
and then potentially Char Valley looming after that,
right? But I mean, McKeesport's, they're long, they're talented, and they're fast.
Yeah, and unlike some of these young teams that we're talking about, they're young and they've had immediate success this season. And I think Eric Smith deserves a ton of credit for what he's been able to do at the beginning of the season. When I talked to him for our basketball tab, he had no idea what to expect. With such a young group and only a couple of veteran leaders, he knew the veteran leaders were going to have to step up, and they have. So credit to Smith and his coaching staff and this McKeesport team. They're young, but I think they can cause some problems here in this 5A bracket.
And Ringgold, obviously, it's another one of them situations where you want to get your girls on-court experience, play in the playoffs, play against a good team. I've said it a few times on our broadcast. You learn more from a loss than you do a win. Obviously, they're missing Abby Whaley, who would have been a standout for them this year. But Kira Gerard, her kung fu death grip on a basketball, she's going to go out there, she's going to hustle like crazy and maybe create a little problem for Fox Chapel, maybe for a quarter, maybe for a half. But, I really like the way they responded when they played at Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, they got blown out. They never hung their head. They never quit. And Coach Matt's doing a great job there getting his team to do just what he wants them to do, because he knows it's a process. He knows it's a rebuilding thing. So, they're going to just continue to improve. And again, another young team. So.
Yeah, and that's, like you said, that's a team that's going to play 32 minutes no matter who they're playing. Obviously, Fox Chapel ranked number 8, so they'll have a tough test here. But, one of those things where they're going to get a ton of experience in doing so.
And again, let's shout out those Trinity girls that we know, the Phoenix twins, Eden Williamson, Alyssa Clutter. I mean, just a heck of a job this year for Coach McConnell Miller. And, she's really excited, and she gave Dean Delamalva a good quote about how much the league helped them improve to get to where they are this year. So, they're not a local team, but, of course, we'll be rooting for you to do well in this tournament.
Yeah. Looking at we don't have any teams in the 6A bracket, but we will note at least the top 4 seeds here. Of course, number 1, North Allegheny Perennial Power gets the number 1 seed. Upper St. Clair, the number 2 seed. The number 3 seed, Go Knights. Norwin gets the number 3 seed, and number 4, Mount Lebanon, rounds out the top 4. A talented 6A field. We don't get to see a lot of these teams play, but we don't cover any 6A teams, so Go Knights.
Yeah, North Allegheny, the top overall seed in 6A, just took an L to Trinity.
Yeah.
So should be fun. But, that'll wrap it up for the girls' part of this. We'll be back with the boys' part, and we'll got some high seeds there. And
yes, we do.
Some exciting basketball ahead for the boys. Welcome back to the boys bracket breakdown of this edition of MVI Live. And Jose, 13 local teams out of our 14 are in this pile of brackets we have here.
Yes.
And a couple high seeds.
We got a pair of number 1 seeds here.
We do.
I think it's been quite a while since we had 2 number 1 seeds in boys basketball, correct?
I don't remember.
I don't remember the last time.
No. What was Sarah Catholic when they were there? They were 2, right?
I believe, were the 2. Yeah.
But why don't you start it all off with Class A?
Yeah, no local teams here in this Class A bracket for the boys, but we'll run through the top 4 seeds like we did for the 6A girls. Bishop Canevin gets the number 1 seed. They will have a first-round bye and then play at home Friday at 6 p.m. Rochester gets the number 2 seed. They'll play in the first round against number 15 West Green. Number 3 Eden Christian Academy will open up the playoffs against number 14 Propel Montour, and Amani Christian gets the number 4 seed. They will play at Peters Township Tuesday 6 p.m. against number 13 Nazareth Prep.
I know our buddy Tim Tyree will be paying attention to that Bishop Canevin game. A couple of his B graphic players are on that team, and his former Vincentian players. So I'm sure he'll be watching that Bishop Canevin team pretty closely. Single A, again, the smallest amount of teams. It's more of a natural bracket.
Right.
Okay. But then we'll show everybody real quick. This is the madness we got for 2A. So I don't envy, I know our good friend Laura Grimm's on the selection committee. So she had a long day today.
Yeah, I would say it was probably a pretty difficult decision with this 2A bracket. 23 teams?
Yeah, so let's start right off with the highest seeded team.
Go ahead.
Locally, and I'm just going to say go Doors.
Mm-hmm.
The Fraser Commodores are the number 6 seed. And I talked to Coach Kiefer last night before their game with Manessa, and he's perfectly fine being there because he avoids Olsh until a potential championship game. So
right.
I know he's really excited about that. Commodore 16-3, finished 9-1 in Section 4-2A. They will play the winner of Fort Cherry and Propel Braddock Hills. Those two teams will play Saturday, and the Commodores will be back on the floor Wednesday, March 3rd, which is also my dad's birthday. Then next up, we have the Monessen Greyhounds. They are the number 9 seed. They are 7-7 overall, 5-3 in section play. Had a chance to share the section title with Fraser yesterday, and they did not. Great comeback. It was a great game to watch. Mm-hmm. But they will travel to number 8 Shenango on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Not an easy out for the Greyhounds. California, number 17 seed, will play on Saturday at 2 o'clock at Chartiers Houston, the number 16 seed. The winner of that game gets Olsh at Our Lady of the Sacred Heart on Wednesday. Not an easy task. I know California coming off a loss to Carmichael's. They hope to get into the playoffs on a winning note. Good chance. They play Bentworth later this week. I think it's tomorrow or Thursday they end their regular season against the Bearcats. And number 18 is Sarah Catholic, 2-10 overall, 2-6 in AJ Corso's first year. They will play at home, being the lower seed, against number 15 Carmichael's on Saturday. That game is at noon. The winner of that game will play Greensburg Central Catholic, I think, who just beat Sarah Catholic, I think, by 72-50 late last week. But, yeah, this bracket, it's a big bracket. Mm-hmm. I mean, what we got? 7 pigtail round games. And we can't forget Clairton, the number 14 seed, 3-9, 3-6 overall. They will host Southside area on Saturday as well at noon. And the winner of that game will play number 3 seed Stowe Rocks on Wednesday. So yeah, but 2A is a mess, mm-hmm. and go Doors. I will say that again. The section champions again for the first time in 31 years. It was a good feeling to be there for that, and yes, cut down the nets if it's been 3 decades.
Yeah,
for section title.
Cool
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is a talented field here in 2A. Obviously, Fraser, they're going to have to get past at least Fort Cherry and Propel Braddock Hills, and then get past number 3 Stowe Rocks if they want to get another chance at Greensburg Central Catholic, a team that they only lost to by a few earlier this season. So Fraser has a chance, like you said. Being on the opposite side of the bracket from Olsh is always a positive, considering they are so much of a favorite here in Class 2A. But great to see so many teams here involved in this one.
And fun fact, Fort Cherry beat Fraser to start the season, 51-50.
Right before the 3-week shutdown.
Yeah, they played that one game on that Friday night, and it was at Fort Cherry though. So obviously this game will be at Fraser on Wednesday night. Probably a good chance I might be there for that. But maybe they can get a little bit of revenge on the Rangers. Yeah.
We'll take a look at the Class 3A bracket, and of course it takes us to our first of 2 number 1 seeds in the Mon Valley. The South Allegheny Gladiators, despite a loss to Shadyside Academy earlier this week, their first section loss of the season, they get the number 1 seed. They will get a first-round matchup with either Brownsville, number 16 Brownsville, or number 17 Ligonier Valley. SA will play at home Thursday at 6 p.m. In that first-round matchup. And then the other team in the 3A bracket from the area, number 10 Charleroi, will play at home Monday 8 p.m. against number 23 Steel Valley. The winner of that matchup will play number 7 Beaver Falls on the road. And SA, of course, if they were to beat either Brownsville or Ligonier Valley, would face Brentwood or Seton LaSalle in the next round. No surprise there with SA. I guess a bit of a surprise. We weren't sure if they were going to get the one because of that loss to Shadyside Academy, but in my opinion, I think it's those non-section games that they were able to play against Lincoln Park, against Thomas Jefferson, Quaker Valley, some of those teams that they were able to play, even McKeesport last night getting a big win against another 5A team. I think that's the reason why SA is the number one seed.
I mean, their only loss to a AAA team was that Shadyside Academy. I have some questions about the integrity of that loss in the final seconds. I know all of us watched it on the live stream. But, there was some conversation, will SA get it? Will Shadyside get it? Well, here's Neshannock at number 2.
Right.
Which kind of says to me that the steering committee didn't even think there was a question of who the number 1 seed was going to be. And obviously that's the Gladiator. So, and if you're Charleroi, Steel Valley's played 1 game this year. I know they had, I think, 3 or 4 scheduled for this week, but if you're head coach Bill Wiltz, you don't have a lot to go on.
Yeah.
And we'll also give a shout-out to our buddy Billy Greco. Best Center is the 19th seed, and they will actually play Apollo Ridge at Charleroi before the Charleroi game on Monday night. The Charleroi game, again, 8 o'clock. So, again, a lot of teams in that AAA bracket.
Yeah, I think we could. I'll give a little preview of my prediction in terms of the semifinal matchup. I think we could probably see a South Allegheny Washington matchup in the semifinals, and I think that'd be a pretty good one to see. Obviously, a couple of summer league guys on that Prexy squad with Brandon Patterson and Tayshawn Levy, so should be interesting to see what this 3A bracket can consist of. But SA, like we said, they're battle tested with all of these non-section games against higher, teams in higher classifications, and they have the experience of last year's run as well.
And again, it's spoiler alert for our podcast on Sunday when we do our little predictions. Antonio Epps will not let this team lose.
No, I don't think he will.
But you mentioned that potential matchup with Washington. South Allegheny played Washington already without Omar Faulkner and Ethan Kirkwood,
right,
and they handled them pretty well. So, Aliquippa is an unknown. They're always athletic up in Aliquippa. So, I think that obviously the number 4 seed, talking about the Quips, I think that's the biggest hurdle, on the way. And could we see another Shadyside Academy South Allegheny matchup in the finals?
Perhaps.
We never know. So, looking at 3A and jumping right into 4A, and that brings us to our second local number 1 seed, and that is the Bell Vernon Leopards. Bell Vernon gets the number 1 seed over Lincoln Park. Montour is a 3, and Quaker Valley is the 4. North Catholic's all the way there at 5. I was kind of surprised by that. Those 3 teams obviously are in the same section. I think it's Lincoln Park, Montour, and Quaker Valley are all in the same section. But Bell Vernon gets the 1. They will play Thursday, March 4th at 6 o'clock against the winner of Freeport and Blackhawk, who will play Monday. So, again, congratulations to head coach Joe Salvino, Devin, Cheeks, all those guys at Bell Vernon. And the unsung hero for the Leopards, Jake Haney. I feel bad for whoever plays him in the first quarter every week because Haney just goes off. But, yeah, Bell Vernon gets the 1. Their section rivals, the Elizabeth Ford Warriors, they are the 7th seed, 8-4 overall, 8-2. Again, their 2 section losses to Bell Vernon. They will play at number 10 Deer Lakes. Again, it's that same situation as the girls. That little gym doesn't have the capacity, and they have to go on the road and play their game on Thursday at 6 o'clock as well. And number 18, Yawk, is 3-10 overall, 2-7. Some young talent there, so it'd be interesting to see what they can do here in the playoffs. They will travel to number 15, Knock, on Monday at 6 o'clock. And the winner of those 2 teams will get Lincoln Park. So, again, Bell Vernon with the 1. Just looking ahead, a potential quarterfinal matchup with their section foe in South Park could be looming. And South Park played them pretty tough, but Bell Vernon eventually pulled away. And then Quaker Valley, who they beat in last year's playoffs, and North Catholic are looming. But if they get that far, they're at home. So there will be a little bit of a home court advantage for the Leopards now, and it's always to be home in the friendly confines of Bell Vernon.
Right. And I think, I don't know if there's really any surprise with them getting the one. I think we kind of anticipated that. Elizabeth Ford, I know right now they're shut down because of COVID protocols, but head coach Matt Loftus is hopeful that they can get back to practice this weekend. Was hoping that they wouldn't have to play, Monday or Tuesday. Luckily for the Warriors, they'll have until Thursday to play, so they'll get some practices in before that first playoff game. And obviously, this is a very young team that's getting a nice opportunity to play in the playoffs. They're the second place team from this section. They were able to beat South Park the first time they played. Of course, their game Thursday against South Park was canceled. Lost both matchups with Bell Vernon, but a young EF team that's going to come in and get some experience in this open tournament that they would have made regardless.
And I just picture Coach Loftus like sitting in like a corner or something, like rubbing that rabbit's foot as these brackets are released, saying, "Oh, please don't let us play Monday. Don't let us play Monday." But congratulations to him and those guys. And going back to Bell Vernon, against a potential rematch against South Park, say in that quarterfinals, Bell Vernon's been here before now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason why they shouldn't make another good run here to a potential championship game.
Yeah, I think, we've talked about it so many times. I mean, Bell Vernon is they have what it takes to be successful in the playoffs. And I know you and I were very hesitant to really believe in whether they can make a long run in the WPIAL playoffs. They shut us up, Jeremy.
Good.
And,
Sorry, guys.
We love being proved wrong. We're glad that we were. But, and that's the great part about this is we probably weren't the only ones.
No, sure.
They really, silenced the doubters and the naysayers and were able to have such a remarkable regular season, even playing some really tough non-section games, being Laurel Highlands. I know Rodney Gallagher didn't play in that non-section game, but, that was a big win on their resume. And I think that accounted for a lot in helping them get the number one seed. So, kudos to the Leopards, and, we'll see how they can do throughout this bracket. And they don't have to play Montour or Lincoln Park until potential championship matchup.
And it's really funny because I asked Coach Salvino after their game against, I forget who it was off the top of my head. It was right before the EF game, and I said, how scary is it knowing everybody but Haney's coming back next year? And he's like, well, it's not scary for me. So,
right.
And just the emergence of Quentin Martin, too, for them. I don't think the playoffs are going to be too big for him as well. So.
And I got to give Coach Salvino credit for the patience he's had with a kid like Quentin Martin, not just throwing him in the starting lineup right out of the gate, not just throwing him straight into the, the limelight of high school basketball, letting him, kind of go at it and kind of adjust to the level of play at his own pace. And I think that's helped him a lot.
And it's funny because you could see as soon as the midway point of the first quarter, you see Martin taking it off.
Right.
So there's a plan there. And again, I know me and Chad have talked about it, behind the scenes. If it's not broke, don't fix it. This has worked all year long. Keep it going, and hopefully they continue to roll here in the playoffs.
Yeah, and kudos to Quentin Martin for embracing, that plan and going with it. And obviously very excited to see what Elizabeth Ford can do with their young talent. I know they have a lot of freshmen there. Vernon Settle's a really talented scorer. Zach Boyd's only a sophomore. It'll be exciting to see what they can do. And even Yawk, I mean, we know how talented they have some really good players led by Tarek Crosby and Jamal Marbley. So we'll see what the Cougars can do as the number 18 seed.
Yeah.
And we'll go into the 5A bracket, I should say. 3 local teams in this one, led by the number 7 seed Thomas Jefferson Jaguars. They will host Greater Latrobe in the first round Wednesday at 6 p.m. McKeesport, they are seeded number 17. They will face Hampton Saturday at Hampton at noon in the preliminary round. And Ringgold is seeded number 19 under first-year head coach Eugene Wilson. They will travel to Shaler noon on Saturday for that preliminary round game. And no surprises here in terms of the top 4 seeds. I mean, Char Valley, led by MVISBL great Braden Reynolds. They get the number 1 seed. Newcastle's at number 2. Laurel Highlands and Rodney Gallagher get the number 3 seed. Highlands gets the number 4 seed. So no surprises there. Thomas Jefferson, obviously one of the better teams that we see here in the Mon Valley, obviously led by head coach Don DeSico. So much talent, so much depth that they have. No surprise to see them as the top-ranked local team here in Class 5A.
And McKeesport's a team you don't want to run into because of the athleticism they have from top to bottom. I know a couple guys are missing, but there's still talent all the way to the bottom. And Coach Kovac, they're going to be a dangerous out. Now, Char Valley is a different animal. They're the number 1 seed. Obviously, we know all about Braden Reynolds from the summer. Now I'm looking ahead to that potential quarterfinal matchup between Thomas Jefferson and Newcastle. And, hey, I could see Newcastle beating themselves again and TJ moving on. But you never know. And Ringgold, we can't talk about the job Coach Wilson has done there. I know we've seen him a couple times now. I'm so impressed with the way he has embraced his challenge there.
Right.
And he's gotten the best out of that team. I know, there's a couple more athletes in that school that are going to come out. They've already said they're coming out next year for the team. And that was his first job, is to getting the best players in the school, to come out and join up with the Rams. So, this is only going to help, again, a young team, get them experience now. And when you got a guy like Meech Butler, Demetrius can go off. Mm-hmm. We've seen it. He poured in 42 last week to tie the single game high in the program. So, if Nick Pecon's hitting his shots, if he finds that clutch gene like his brother had, the last few years, and again, he's only a junior there, so he'll be back to lead the way next year. So they still have some unfinished business this year first, and, it's going to start at Shaler on Saturday. I know they're trying to get 1 or 2 more games this year, and there's an outside shot Meech can get 1,000 career points now after he had the big game.
Right.
So anything could happen. Obviously, again, we're paying attention to Laurel Highlands with the guys from the Summer League. Caleb Palumbo, obviously Gallagher, Keandre DeShields. It's surprising the defending champions is a 3 seed. Again, they play a brutal schedule. They take on all comers, and everybody wants to see them.
Right.
They're used to being in the spotlight.
Yeah, I think when it came to that, I think they looked at the Bell Vernon loss, even though they were without Rodney Gallagher. Also, their loss to McKeesport early in the season.
Right.
I think they probably looked at that as well in terms of whether to put them at the number 2. I think Char Valley was the undisputed 1 seed, and I think they looked at that as well. But when looking at this bracket, I would not be surprised to see a Thomas Jefferson Laurel Highlands rematch in the semifinals.
I wouldn't be surprised at all, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get the Braden Reynolds versus Rodney Gallagher in a championship game.
I would not be surprised at that either.
Awesome to watch.
Almost.
Who would Tim Tyree take in that game?
I wouldn't want to ask him. You can ask him if you
No,
want.
I'm good.
But I mean, it just kind of shows you how unfair it was that they got to play together this year.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, and just looking around the bracket, a team that intrigues me and that we've seen a couple of times, Albert Gallatin is the 9 seed, and they're going to play at Gateway. I've seen Gateway play at McKeesport this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Colonials, move on to face, probably Char Valley in the quarterfinals. But anytime you got somebody 6'7", 6'8",
Hey, I mean, I think that they can pose a pretty legitimate threat to Char Valley. I mean, you look at, obviously, they're led by Nate English, but, Hunter Sexton's a really talented guard. You got a lot of height there with, Dylan Shea and A.J. Blyden. That AG team, I think, could be one of those Cinderella stories as a number 9 seed and pose as a really tough challenge for Char Valley.
Maybe it's going to be like Cool Runnings, and it just be like Team Virgin Islands. Just go all the way to the championship.
Yeah, maybe. Perhaps.
Yeah. You never know. But that's a look at 5A, and again, we'll skim over 6A real quick. Obviously, we have no teams in the area of that magnitude up in the 6A ranks. Number 1 seed is Upper St. Clair. 2 Fox Chapel, 3 Hempfield, and 4 is Penn Trafford, who just beat Char Valley the other day on Saturday. So, yeah, I mean, again, 6A, Pine Richland's still up there. They're 6th seed, but Pine Richland's still a very good team, and 6A is just a really deep conference in classification. So,
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what comes out of there. So, overall, what are your thoughts?
Well, in terms of the 6A bracket, I must say there might be a matchup between number 4 Penn Trafford and a matchup between number 12 Norwin. So I just want to say, go Knights.
Go Knights.
So yeah.
But yeah, overall, I think for the most part, I think with all the teams that were in here, I mean, what did we say? 121 boys teams, 109 girls teams. I think for the most part, the WPIAL did a good job.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the Class 2A girls bracket. I think Sarah Catholic and Coach Cleary should have gotten the 1, but hey, what do I know? I just write for a living. I'll ask Grim about that later.
I think
maybe that's why they got the 2, because Grim's on the committee.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think they did a great job. Under the circumstances. I mean, this is. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. To put this all together. I mean, that you're not going to please everybody, but it's one of those deals where. This is kind of unprecedented. The first time in a really long time where this has happened. So, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be fun to be along for the ride. I know it's a bummer that it's not going to end up at the Peterson Event Center like it usually does for us, every year. But excited to see what our local teams can do and see if they can make some runs here to the WPIAL Championship.
It's going to be. I'm going to say the championships are going to be in the Peters Township Event Center.
Yeah.
And the new gym there at Peters Township. I'm sure. I'm looking forward to being there at least at some point in the playoffs. I'm sure we probably will be. I think we got a couple teams. I'm going to say, SA, Bell Vernon, Sarah Catholic girls. I think we could have. There's potential for 3, maybe 4 with a couple upsets. Potential championship appearances.
Yeah.
I'm hoping my Commodores, don't get so excited about the section title that they forget they have a playoff game coming up, and I know they want to win that. And they're a senior-laden team, so it shouldn't be a problem. So I'm really excited for them to see where they go, and obviously Coach Kiefer's a good buddy of mine going forward. But, yeah, I'm excited. It's the best time of the year. Unfortunately, we will not be live streaming games. That's just absurd what all goes into that. But, we're still going to have the best coverage. There ain't no doubt about it in my mind. So, yeah, I'm excited. You excited?
I'm pretty excited.
Pretty excited. So, catch tomorrow in the Mon Valley Independent. I will be writing pretty much exactly what we just talked about. I'll be writing the boys' story. Jose will take over the girls' content. Nothing major. We're not going to. We'll have previews of most of our games, so we're not going to really get in depth in these stories. Just let you know who's playing who again, and get ready for basketball. We got some teams that are practicing for Saturday.
Great.
So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Let's get to it. We'll wrap it up here from the MVI home base for assistant sports editor. I almost said Jeremy Slew, Jose Negron, and for myself, Jeremy Slew. We're signing off. Have a good night.